After my performance ended, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. The wealthy second generation who pursued me at school held a large bouquet of bright red roses and walked onto the stage. Demi Arrivo, I like you. Be my girlfriend. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. 0.1 The audience below immediately erupted into cheers. Say yes, say yes. I turned to look at the back of the audience, where someone was casually watching the heartfelt confession on stage. Our eyes met. He tugged at his lips, stood up, and walked away. I don't like you. My boyfriend would get jealous. Without even looking at the bouquet of roses, I lifted my dress and walked off the stage. For a moment, all eyes followed my footsteps. I ran quickly, grabbing Garrett Silver's arm. His body stiffened, but he didn't turn around. I haven't changed my clothes. If your classmates see us, they'll laugh at you. I held his hand, muttering softly with a hint of grievance. But I dressed up so beautifully just for you to see. Don't you want to look at me? After a while, Garrett slowly turned around, dressed in a shabby camouflage outfit with mud stains. My classmates looked at us in surprise, seemingly not expecting the university beauty to have such a boyfriend. Standing tall, with a hint of helplessness in his voice, he said, "Let go of my hand first. My hands are dirty." His hands were covered in calluses, feeling rough and not matching his handsome face at all. I looked up at him, smiling. "No, you're not dirty at all." I swayed his arm playfully. "I performed so well. Won't you even give me a hug? Don't mess around." I suddenly jumped up and hugged his neck, hanging onto him with my long, slender legs wrapped around his waist. Garrett was taken aback for a moment, but instinctively covered my dress with his hand and quickly escorted me out of the venue. A man of mixed feelings. Garrett finally put me down under the dormitory building. Then he asked a vague question. "Why did you do that?" The previous Demi Arrivo not only wouldn't hug him in public, but also didn't allow Garrett to visit her at school. "Because you my boyfriend." Garrett stared at me intently, his eyes showing an unreadable glint. After a while, he smiled. "Since you are my girlfriend, come with me somewhere. In a village within the city, inside a rental house." As soon as the door opened, a musty smell emerged. The room was dark and damp, with only a simple single bed and not even an extra chair. Garrett Silver sat on the bed, lit a cigarette, without even lifting his eyelids. "Sit down." The only place to sit in the room was the bed against the wall, but he arrogantly sat in the middle. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over without hesitation, and I sat on his thigh. His body stiffened, his hand holding the cigarette, not knowing where to put it, and eventually, he casually threw it to the ground and put it out. "What do you want again? I've already given you my salary for this month." In the previous life, at this time, Garrett already knew that I didn't love him before. He went to school to see me just to make the final confirmation, only to see me accepting the pursuit of a second-generation rich man. Coincidentally, in this life, I was reborn at that time. He privately partnered with someone to start an internet company, although the company was just starting out, but he would never be short of money. He just didn't want to spend it on me. This trashy woman. "I don't want money, I want something else." Garrett raised an eyebrow. "You don't want my body, do you?" He was really handsome, with a straight figure, a handsome face, indeed having the capital to make women drool. "I don't like Sheikh Coleman, the guy who sent me flowers today. He's always bothering me." "Weren't you always wanting to marry a rich man?" "Even if I like money, I still need to keep myself alive to spend it. In the previous life, I married Sheikh Coleman, but shortly after we got married, he cheated on me and abused me. When I asked for a divorce, he chained me up in the basement. I need someone to help me get rid of him, to escape the inevitable death in this book, and Garrett Silver is the best candidate." "Why do you think I would still help you? Because of your face?" I squatted down in front of him, looking up at him. "I don't have any other advantages, but I am confident in this face. After all, in the previous life, it was this face that made countless men bow down to me. Even in the end, it was Garrett who rescued me from the dying hands of Sheikh Coleman. I assented because of this face that I rely on. I still have one more year until graduation. I can now intern and work to pay you back. I don't need it. You can leave my house now." As we were talking, suddenly there was a knocking on the door. A gentle female voice came through. "Mr. Silver, are you there?" Garrett's expression unconsciously turned cold, with a hint of disgust. He sat there as if he hadn't heard that voice. Then his phone rang persistently, automatically hung up, and then rang again. The person outside must have heard it, but still stubbornly called again and again. I directly hung up the phone, walked over, and opened the door. Standing at the door was a young woman. When she heard the door open, she looked up and was stunned. I looked her up and down. This was Georgia Singleton, the female protagonist in the novel who was once pampered by Garrett Silver in the previous life. She was wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, with light makeup on her face, looking youthful. However, because she had been standing outside for a long time, she was sweating on her forehead. Her makeup was a bit smudged. I was wearing a high-end dress bought with Garrett's salary, my hair carefully styled, and delicate makeup on my face. In comparison, she seemed a bit out of place, unconsciously pursing her lips. Only her eyes shimmered with determination. "Who are you?" "I am Garrett's girlfriend. Didn't he tell you?" Of course, Garrett had told her. She had never seen us together, not even on Valentine's Day. Georgia thought it was just an excuse from Garrett, but little Little did she know he really had a girlfriend. Georgia's face turned pale, looking like she could faint at any moment. At this moment, Garrett finally walked out of the house. Georgia, why are you here? Her eyes were red as she handed over a document, saying, there is an urgent matter at the company. I couldn't reach you on the phone, so I came over. I understand. I will go over now. You can go back first. Georgia couldn't hold back her tears any longer. Sweat mixed with tears ran down her neck, looking a bit pitiful. I took out a pack of wet tissues from my bag and handed it to her, comforting her. Don't cry. Your makeup is ruined. To my surprise, she pushed me away and said fiercely, I don't need your fake kindness. With that, she turned around and ran away in tears. Seeing that she would be Garrett's sweetheart in the future lady of the Silver Group, I endured it. As I turned around, Garrett's face darkened as he stared at me. Why are you being so polite to her? Isn't she your colleague? How did you know? I raised the file in my hand. Garrett's eyelid twitched, mocking me. I didn't expect you to understand this. Well, in the past, all I could see were various luxury goods. My thoughts every day were on dressing up, and I even relied on last-minute cramming for every exam. Finally, Garrett raised his eyelids and said, you can leave now. Leave now? Thinking of being locked in the basement by Shay Coleman in my past life, I couldn't help but shiver. I'm not leaving. Shay Coleman always guards below my dormitory. I want to stay here with you. Are you sure you can live here? Go stay in a hotel. I don't have money. Can't afford a hotel. Don't tell me you spent $10,000 in 7 days. I remained silent, staring at him. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. Is this Mr. Garrett Silver's home? Your ordered air conditioner has arrived. I walked over to open the door. The technician confirmed the information with me and swiftly carried the air conditioner in for installation. Garrett asked, did you buy this? Before he could finish, another person peeked in and asked us, is this the bed you ordered? Within an hour, one after another, businesses delivered a refrigerator, sofa, and water heater. Garrett was speechless, sitting on his single bed that the technician had cleared and smoking. After all the installations were completed, the technician said to Garrett on the bed, young man, please stand up. Confused, Garrett stood up, and the technicians skillfully dismantled the single bed and carried it away. Before leaving, they said sincerely, this is our newly launched service for throwing away garbage on behalf of customers. Please give us a good review. Garrett's face turned even darker. I was too tired to explain to him, so I directly took a set of clothes from the box at the foot of the bed and went to the bathroom. When I came out, Garrett was sitting on the sofa reading documents. The clothes of Garrett were a bit big on me. The modest neckline turned into a low-cut one when I wore it. There was no hairdryer in Garrett's house, so I dried my hair halfway and let it fall on my shoulders, wetting the fabric in front of my chest. Garrett only glanced at me and then turned his head. His ears suspiciously turned red. He furrowed his brows and said impatiently, I'm going to buy something. After about 15 minutes, he came back with 2 meals in his hands. He opened one box and ate heartily. Then he took out a pink hairdryer from his pocket and threw it in front of me. Picked it up from the roadside trash can. Go dry your hair. Don't wet my bed. A man who says one thing and means another. By the time I finished drying my hair, Garrett had already gone to the bathroom to take a shower, leaving a plate of seafood fried rice on the table. Each grain of rice was fried golden with egg, and a layer of shrimp was placed on top. The meal he just ate was clearly just ordinary egg fried rice. When Garrett came out of the shower, I was eating. I looked up and froze in place. His hair was not completely dry, covered only with a towel on top. His upper body bare, water running down his chest muscles and abs, finally flowing into his sports shorts along his V-line. A smirk formed at the corner of Garrett's lips. Wipe your drool. I reflexively wiped my mouth. Who's drooling? At night, I slept in bed, and Garrett, who was 6 feet 1 inches tall and squeezed onto the couch, looked incredibly uncomfortable. It was his own choice to volunteer to sleep on the sofa. Serves him right. I turned over and faced the other way. The next day, when Garrett left the house, I went back to school to pack my things. However, I was stopped just at the school gate. Shay Coleman's face was pale, looking like he hadn't slept all night, and he questioned, where did you go? Where else can I go with my boyfriend? Besides, what does it have to do with you where I go? His chest heaved violently, looking very angry. Is he worthy of you? He was aggressive and mocking. Where am I not as good as him? If he is not worthy of me, then you are? We've known each other since we were kids, started dating in high school, and he even paid for my college tuition. From head to toe, everything I wear, use, eat, and drink is bought by him. How is he not worthy? If we have to say who is not worthy of whom, it's me who's not worthy of him. I was furious. In my eyes, you are nowhere near him. You're just richer than him. Is that the source of your superiority complex? Shay seemed to have hit a nerve nerve and raised his voice. I am rich. Do you want to be with a poor guy for the rest of your life? Sorry, but I've always been supported by the so-called poor guy you mentioned. He has never been poorer than me. Also, if you keep bothering me, be careful. My boyfriend will come and beat you up. Shay didn't believe it. Your boyfriend is probably busy moving bricks at the construction site now. Does he have time to take care of you? As he said that, he tried to grab my hand. Suddenly, a hand reached out from the side and firmly grabbed Shay's arm. As long as it's about my girlfriend, I have plenty of time. Shay screamed in pain, shouting, "Ouch, it hurt." Garrett remained unfazed, gripping Shay's hand like a clamp, his voice as cold as ice. Stay away from my girlfriend, otherwise, you know, a worthless poor guy like me may not have a valuable life, but yours is different. Shay was scared, his face turning pale, nodding repeatedly. As soon as Garrett released his hand, Shay ran away in a hurry. Garrett turned to me, his expression very strange, appearing touched and embarrassed at the same time. After a while, his face returned to normal. Why did you come back if you said he was bothering you? Aren't you disgusted with me? Garrett became anxious. When did I say that? Then why did you sleep on the couch? Garrett's face turned pale, then red, looking like a dye vat. How can you, as a girl, have no sense of propriety? Finally, he stuttered. I didn't find you repulsive.